So anyway, when they arrested me, they got me with the pipe, they got me with the pot. It was like less than a gram. And what I wanted to do was ask them, because my understanding, according to definitions given in law dictionaries, and according to Supreme Court ruling that standing is a necessary component in all court cases, criminal or civil, it doesn't matter, that standing is a necessary element of all court cases. So one element of standing is injury. And since the state is the plaintiff must allege injury, so says the Supreme Court. So when I did motion to dismiss, due to the state's lack of standing, where's the injury? And I've even asked the assistant attorney, the prosecutor, what injury are you alleging that I caused the state? She said, I don't understand what you're saying. I said, you're an attorney, you know what standing is. We had this conversation.
Well, it looks like the judge already ruled on those.
However, what she did was the judge ruled and gave me 3 definitions. And I don't know if you have the paperwork, but when she
No, I don't get anything that happens.
I can
make copies of it, but I don't.
Okay. Well, what I did was basically got a response back that they were like, no, we're not going to dismiss, because she cited one statute, one Iowa code that said, basically it talked about how when they processed me through, to get me in jail and things like that, had more to do with due process. The other code that was cited as the reason why the state had standing was that it was basically a definition of what the prosecution's duties are as a prosecutor. And then there was another one which defined what a citation or something of that nature. So none of these address injury, and injury is a mandatory component. So what they did was they just kind of slid by and didn't even address the injury. So I want to get back and say, listen, all I want is the injury that you're alleging I'm causing the state.
Okay. Well, the injury that they're alleging is the legislature has passed laws.
Okay.
And one of them is criminalizing marijuana. And they're alleging that you broke that law, that criminalizing marijuana.
And the injury is what? Their butt hurt because I didn't follow the rules?
So, injury means a law violation, which the law, in your case...
I've never seen any definition of injury that indicates that it's a law violation.
So...
Injury means, whether it's physical, financial, things like that. Nothing has to do... Can you cite that? Can you show me?
Well, if you want me to give you a case, I will. But the fact of the matter is that you filed these motions and the court has not granted them. So we have to move on.
Okay, so then I asked in a discovery motion, evidence is a key component in all cases. So I asked for the evidence that your statutes and code were even applicable. How did they apply to me? When did I ever enter into agreement? So what I asked for was evidence, proof, that the codes apply to me. And they totally skirted that. And that's legitimate.
Well, you live here.
Okay. You know what? That's your opinion. What I'm saying is that what is the evidence that just because I live or reside within an imaginary boundary, what is the evidence that your laws are applicable to me just because I'm within the imaginary boundary? What's the evidence? That's all I'm asking. And the judge told me, he goes, well, the Supreme Court grants us the authority, and I said, okay, fine. Or not the Supreme Court, but the Constitution grants us the authority to, proceed with these types of things. And I said, okay, what evidence do you have that your Constitution is applicable?
Well, the Ninth Amendment gives, and the 10th Amendment give all the rights not reserved to federal government.
And that's part of the Constitution, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that the Constitution gives you the authority, or the Constitution is applicable because the Constitution says so. That's not a responsive answer, and that's what I got back there. I told you, you're talking circular logic. You can't say the laws apply because the law says so. That's totally unresponsive and circular.
Okay, well...
The Constitution applies because the Constitution applies. What if I were just to make up a rule book and say, hey, you owe me $5 for every minute I spend with you, and you'd be like, how's that applicable? And I said, well, my rules say that it's applicable. So you understand where I'm coming from. It's a circular logic.
I see what you're saying, but it's not issues that I'm going to raise.
Well, then you're not representing me correctly, because if you were to represent me, you'd be standing in my place, or standing in the place of, in other words, representing what I want to go forward.
Well, I also have a duty to not file frivolous motions.
That's not frivolous. Since when is evidence frivolous?
In my opinion, it is.
Okay, so
I have a duty as a member of the Bar Association to not file a frivolous motion.
Well, that's your
It's
opinion that it's frivolous, but if you're going to represent me,
As
that's
an
what I'm
attorney, I decide what motions get filed. You decide whether you want a jury trial. You decide if you have a jury trial, whether to testify. You decide whether to waive a jury. I decide what pre-trial motions to file.
So that would pretty much be a conflict of interest because, you know, I mean, who are your paychecks from? State of Iowa?
Yeah.
Okay, so the state of Iowa is the plaintiff.
So, and
So-
if you feel that way, then I shouldn't, I mean, if you feel that I can't represent you.
What I'm trying to show here is that it's impossible for me to get a fair hearing or fair trial. And the reason is that there's an inherent conflict of interest within the system. If you are paid by the state, and the judges are paid by the state, and the state is the plaintiff, then there's a vested interest in the outcome. That's an inherent conflict of interest, and there's no way around it.
Okay.
So all I'm asking is just to drop this. All I had was a little bit of weed in my pocket. Big fucking deal, you know?
Right.
So, you know, I got you guys by rights. There's conflict of interest, and you know it. So I can't get a fair hearing if there's conflict of interest.
Well, I've taken, I mean, when I became a lawyer and when I became a public defender, I take an oath to represent my clients, not to represent the judge, not to represent the prosecution.
Okay, so if you're going to represent and stand in my place, I want to push forward with the fact that there's conflict of interest. I want to push forward with the fact that never, ever in this whole case was injury addressed when I asked for it.
Okay.
So that's what I want to do. If you're going to represent me, that's where we need to go.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna file this motion.
Okay, so what do we do?
Well, I mean, you can write the court and say, my lawyer won't file the motions I want her to file.
Okay. Fair enough.
So,
All right, I'll just see if I can't schedule some time with the judge then and get this picked up.
file, just write something written, we'll bring it down there.
Yeah, all right, so, yeah, I can do that, and I'm also probably going to need some extra time. I got surgery coming up the 17th. I got a tumor in my chest.
Okay,
So I'm going to be down for quite a while.
so I would write them and ask for a motion to extend deadlines, and then tell them that.
All right. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, have a good weekend.
Thank you as well. Unbelievable.